So with the NBA trade deadline approaching, we've already gotten our first significant trade as Tobias Harris was moved from the Orlando Magic to the Detroit Pistons for Brandon Jennings and Ersan Ilyasova. And in my opinion, you could say that Detroit is winning this trade because they're moving two players who probably weren't even going to be there next season for a genuine starter. I mean, Jennings was not playing well after coming back from injury, and given Reggie Jackson's emergence, they don't need Jennings at that point guard spot. And then Ilyasova, outside of being a stretch four for them, wasn't really doing too much else. Now they acquire Tobias Harris, who can play the small forward or the power forward position for them. And Tobias Harris is interesting because based on his last season with the Magic, where he averaged 17 points on 47% shooting and 36 from 3, I kind of felt like the guy was destined to be a 20-point scorer in this league for a long time. But then this year he regressed down to 14 a game, and his three-point shot has dropped all the way to 31%. To be honest, I attribute some of that to Scott Skiles' offense, because Skiles is he runs a slower half-court style offense that I don't think completely catered to that Magic team. But now that he's going to be coached by Stan Van, who values the three-point shot, I think you could see Tobias Harris's shooting peak back up there. But another thing with Tobias is he's never been afraid to dribble the ball, and I think that can help out the Pistons as well. Now, granted, Tobias, at times, he's been accused of being a bit of a ball hog. There might be some legitimacy to that criticism. So, hopefully Stan Van will just get him in the right direction. But I think Tobias Harris's potential is really limitless because, what is he, 6'9", with the ability to dribble a bit, and he's showing life from the three-point land. So, I think the potential behind Tobias Harris is so good that you have to make this move for the Pistons. And really, this gives Detroit a lot of versatility now because Kentavious Caldwell-Pope has emerged as one of the best defensive perimeter players in the league, and he can guard point guards, shooting guards, and some small forwards. Marcus Morris, who is similar to Tobias Harris in terms of just physical nature and some of his skills, he can defend multiple positions, and so can Harris. So Detroit is really setting themselves up well when it comes to versatility. And then we can't forget Stanley Johnson off the bench. So Detroit can now switch on pretty much any pick and roll you give them between the shooting guard, small forward, and the power forward positions, and that's really valuable in today's NBA. So I think Stan Van and the Pistons, I think they actually hit a home run with this move, giving up two guys that they didn't really need for someone who I think at the bare minimum can average 17 points per game on efficient scoring. Like, you nailed it, Stan Van. On the other side of things, for the Orlando Magic, it wasn't really working out well with Tobias. And the Magic, they just needed shooting, because when you look at Elfrid Payton, Victor Oladipo, Tobias Harris, you put all of these guys into the same starting lineup, you just don't have much of an offense to actually spread the floor. So with Tobias Harris gone, that'll allow them to give Hezonja more minutes, and Hezonja has already shown that he can be a legitimate shooter, so I think that can help them out. It also gives Evan Fournier some more minutes on the wing, because I think the Magic just need shooting. They just need guys who can stretch the floor, and hopefully for them, either Elfrid Payton or Victor Oladipo or Vucevic, one of them really takes the next step towards being a top player in this league. But I do think the shooting will definitely help that out. It'll give Oladipo and Payton more driving lanes. It'll allow Vucevic more space in the post. And, as I said, Fournier showed that he could really be a scorer earlier in the season, and I like where Hezonja's going too. So I think this is a move that makes sense for both teams. I think Detroit's going to see a more immediate impact. But even though I do think this is a great trade for the Pistons, there is a slight concern that I have, and it's their three-point shooting, because three of their starters, I assume, are going to be Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Tobias Harris, and Marcus Morris. On the season, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is shooting 31% from 3. That's not very good. However, in the month of January, the guy shot 35% from 3. If he can maintain that, that's good enough, honestly. Marcus Morris, he's shooting 31% from 3 as well. But, like Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, recently he's been on an uptick. In his last 6 games, he's shooting 35% from 3, so if those guys can just maintain decent outside shooting, I think that's all the spacing that the Pistons are really going to need. And I mentioned three-point shot a second ago. Tobias Harris also shooting 31% from 3, so hopefully Detroit doesn't suffer through a lack of shooting. They also did just trade Ersan Ilyasova, but I don't know. I think Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Morris have been decent from 3 lately, and I think just having a better coach as well as just more spacing for Tobias Harris will allow his three-point shot to be a bit better because, I mean, when the Pistons run that Reggie Jackson, Andre Drummond pick and roll, someone's got to bring help defense, which means one of these guys is going to be open, so I think their shooting will improve. And again, the versatility that the Pistons now have, it's really valuable. So, I think that'll do it. As far as the other small moves this trade deadline, the Chris Anderson move, that was just a way for Miami, I think, to free up some cap space. The Charlotte Hornets acquiring Courtney Lee. When I saw that, my reaction was, what the hell, OKC? The one thing you guys are missing is a shooting guard who can play defense and shoot three-pointers. That's exactly what Courtney Lee does. He was on the market and you didn't get him? Sheesh. But besides that, nothing much has really happened in this trade deadline besides the Tobias Harris move, so yeah, I'll try to do one of these each day. So I'll do the next one of these tomorrow. Unless frickin' Kevin Love gets traded to the Celtics, then I might have to make a video immediately.